Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sure.
Okay. So central force motion, the three properties that we are looking into. So the first property we worked out. So this came as a consequence of the first property was that this takes place in a plane. The central force motion is a planar motion. And this came as a consequence that the h is a constant. It's a constant vector. It's a constant vector. So in inertial space, if I take this as the inertial plane, x, y, z, and somewhere h vector is fixed, so the planar motion, this central force motion will always take place perpendicular to this h vector. So it's a direct consequence of that the h vector turned out to be a constant. Okay. So we have the second property that we looked into. It was the central force motion is conservative. These results will be useful later on in solving the problems. And this can be done proved in multiple ways, and out of that already we started with the work method. So for this, whereby we wrote the work done in taking from point A to point B in the central force field. So this is RA and this is RB, and following any path. This was written as F dot dr, and this can be reduced to F dr as we have looked last time. And this turns out to be a potential function. Which we have written as WAB RA minus R. So to this extent we worked out last time. Now the other part of this can be worked out quickly. So we have converted this in terms of velocity. So at RA, the velocity will be VA, so this will be written in terms of VA and VB. Now, this can be simplified. How this it can be written in a multiple ways. So, see, the first idea can be just differentiate V dV. This will be 2 times V dot So following this, you can write simply here in this place as 1 by 2 times d by dt, dS square dt, dA to dV. Or either directly you can cancel this dt and this dt. Okay, and therefore this can be written in terms of V dot dV. And V dot dV is nothing but is equal to V dV, as we have done for this particular. So this gives us 1 by 2 dB square minus 1 by 2, and of course m is outside here, dA square. Thus we have WAB this is equal to UA minus QB, and this is equal to 1 by 2 m dBA square minus 1 by 2 m dA square. This is the potential energy, kinetic energy, so this is the total energy. The energy of the system is conserved. So irrespective of whether the field is attractive or whether the field is repulsive, this is going to hold. We have not assumed that whether this is attractive or repulsive. Similarly, the first property also it holds without any consideration of whether it's attractive central force motion or repulsive central force motion. The same problem can be done, whatever we have proved here, this can be done in other way, in the vector method directly. So we will do it later on once we go to the two-body problem, so that you are aware of what are the ways of solving these equations. The third property is in the central force. The aerial velocity is constant. What does this mean? This implies that the rate of sweep of area, this is going to be a constant. The area is a vector. Therefore, aerial velocity we can write as dA by dt this we have to prove that this is a quantity constant. So now let us take us here, this is the center of attraction O, the r vector at time t, and this is r vector r plus dr or r plus delta r at times t plus dt. So this means this vector is representing r t plus delta at a change time. This angle is delta theta. This is the trajectory. So from our basic vectors, studies, we know that the area of this parallelogram, this will be A cross B. If A and B are two vectors, then the area of the parallelogram is given by A cross B. So here in this case, this B can be replaced by R plus delta R, and this A can be replaced by R vector. And angle between them is delta theta. And we are required to find area of what we are looking for. We are looking for area of this particular part, which I have said. So here this part is your delta R. So obviously we can see from this place that if we extend it like this, so this shaded area, it represents half of the parallelogram area. So this delta A then it can be written as 1 by 2 r plus r plus delta. So the first term will get reduced to 0, and the second term we have, and therefore dA by dt this gets reduced to limit delta t tends to 0. One by 2 r plus b, which we write as h divided by 2. The h already I have stated, this is the specific angular momentum. H is, you can write as capital H by nu. Here this is the angular momentum. I will send you the earlier class notes I have written. So thus we have looked into the three basic property of the central force motion, and this is going to be of great help in solving the problem. Now central force motion can be attractive, it can be repulsive, anything can happen. A different kind of central, like the gravitational central force motion, which is inverse square law, it can be Q, it can be proportional to R, whatever, in the central force motion. And accordingly, your results will change. The gravitational central force motion. So here in this case, we need to replace F by G mm R square and ER cap. ER cap or UR cap, anything we can use. ER cap or UR cap or simply R cap. These are the unit vectors in the R direction. So we have the reference frame here. This is the R. So in this direction, the unit vector can be R cap or ER cap or UR cap. And unit vector perpendicular to this will indicate as U theta cap or either U theta cap. Or simply theta cap also it can be. So these are the standard notations followed. Neither of them can be used. So I prefer using ER cap because quite often whenever I am working, so I usually use this notation for any reference from E1, E2, E3, rather than writing XYZ or either any other thing. And therefore, once we use this notation, so this is consistent with this ER cap. So from Newton's law, then this gets reduced to where m is the mass of the object here or the particle, and m is the mass of the central body, which is assumed to be fixed here. This is fixed. This is not two body problem. This is one body problem. Which we are studying as central force motion. If this body and this body both are free to move, then it becomes two body problem. So we are not treating that. It will come at a lateral stage. So mm will cancel out. So I will simplify at this stage itself and write this as minus gm by r square. There. where mu equal to g. This is called as the planetary gravitational constant. Because it's multiplied by capital N. G is the universal gravitational constant. Okay, once we have done this, then we need to integrate it to get the solution to this problem. Again, this can be treated in many ways, but the first one we need to learn is assuming R equal to R times ER cap. And once we differentiate this gets reduced to R dot times ER cap plus R times ER cap. Okay, this is the R vector here, and ER cap is along the same direction. So as the R is changing along the trajectory, so the ER vector also is a changing direction. ER is right now here, later on it will be here in this place. And therefore ER dot arises in the inertial frame. If we look into the body frame means I have a frame here. This is my ER vector, ER cap. And if I fix a frame along this direction and along this direction, as it goes from one place to another place, so this is your ER cap, and this is E theta cap, this is E theta cap. So if we look into this constitutes your what is called a local horizontal, local vertical frame. This is 90 degrees. This is LB, local horizontal, LH, local vertical, LH, LB. So if we look in this frame, then the ER is not changing. So ER dot there will be 0. But if you look in this frame, the inertial frame, which is here capital X and Y, constituting the inertial frame. So in the inertial frame, ER cap is changing, and therefore this derivative must be estimated. And this you must have done in your basics. Any vector ER cap dy dt, this is given by omega cross Z. Are you aware of this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And this can be proved very easily. Just by taking the ER vector here, and then it changes, the magnitude does not change, only thing it will change from time t to plus to delta t, and this is delta E. There is a change in the vector delta E. So delta E is the change here, and if you divide it by delta ET, you get here E dot or either E cap dot. Okay, and this quantity is nothing but ER cap magnitude times this is delta theta. So this we divide by delta t. This magnitude is 1, so this comes as theta dot. So this is magnitude wise. So you have the here E cap dot magnitude wise, this will be equal to theta dot. But if you look into this in the vector terms, so this vector, the ER vector is here, and because the magnitude is remaining same, so ER vector is here at time t plus delta t. So delta E vector, which is going from this place to this place, as this delta theta, it becomes smaller and smaller, delta theta tends to 0, as delta t tends to 0, so this delta E vector will be perpendicular to ER cap t. So that means this is a vector in the direction of omega vector. Okay, so there are many ways of proving it, and using the transport theorem in mechanics, you can also write it, or in usual way you can describe it. Like what I mean that R is a vector which can be written as R1 times E1 cap, R2 times E2 cap, R3 times E3 cap. So if you differentiate, this is what we are doing. So if we differentiate this vector, so this will come as R1 dot E1 cap, R2 dot E2 cap, plus R3 dot E3 cap, plus R1 times E1 cap dot R2 times E2 cap dot, and this is the quantity. Once you try to estimate it the way we have done on the previous page, so this will turn out as omega cross R. And this part, R1 dot E1, R2 dot E2 cap, R3 dot E3 cap. So you have the another part which is remaining here. This we need to evaluate. So this is in 3 dimensions. So this is equivalent to dr by dt in the body frame. Because here only R1 is changing. Here R2 is changing, R3 is changing. So this is the change in the body frame. This is the change in the inertial frame. So now going back to our original thing, what we have been doing here, this particular one. Okay, so the way we have described, we are using here the polar coordinates, and therefore R dot becomes R dot times ER cap plus omega cross ER cap. And omega is how much here? This vector already we have proved that this is in a line in a plane. So this will be flipping at the rate of theta dot, and therefore the omega theta dot vector will lie perpendicular to this. We can write as theta dot times EZ cap or E3 cap, whatever we use the notation. So this becomes theta dot times EZ cap plus ER cap theta dot EZ cross ER. This is a vector along the E theta direction, isn't it? So this becomes E theta cap. And this is consistent because if you have any trajectory at any point, you are showing this as a velocity vector, which is nothing but dr by dt. So it will have two components, one along the radial direction, which will be writing as r dot, another part will be r times theta dot. So here r is missing, we put here r. So combining them then becomes r times ER cap plus r times theta dot times E theta dot. So this is your velocity vector r dot. And therefore once we have got this, so it's easy to derive d square r by dt square. So just take the derivative of this again. So whatever we are discussing, all these techniques will help you in solving various problems. Expand it. And then we will simplify it after expanding. Already we have looked into this. This is on the previous page we have written in terms of Egypt. Theta dot times Egypt. This is omega, so theta dot times Z cap, omega cross ER cap. In the same way, this vector has to be, E theta is a vector which is perpendicular to R. And as the R vector is rotating, so this perpendicular vector also rotates at the same rate. So here also we write in the same way, theta dot times Z cap, this is omega cross E theta cap. Ez cross ER is nothing but E theta cap, theta dot square. And this vector Ez times E theta we have here vector ER, this is perpendicular to this vector is E theta, and this is the Ez vector. So Ez cross E theta, this will be minus 0. Now plug together singular terms, the singular vector terms. So this is the acceleration of the particle under the central force motion on the left hand side, and the right hand side we have to equate with that. So this can be further simplified as remember here this is the radial acceleration, this is the centripetal acceleration. And this term can be written as 1 by R d by dt R square theta dot and E theta cap. Once we expand it, we can check it will come to this percentage. Okay, so right hand side we have written as mu by r square times r cap. Now look into this equation. Here on the left hand side we have r double dot times r theta dot square. This equal to minus mu by r square. So this gives you first equation here. The second equation, if is a counterpart on the right hand side, it's not there. So this simply implies r square theta dot is equal to h. So this is our second equation. And already we have looked this quantity h is nothing but the specific angular momentum, which is a conserved quantity. And these two can be used together to solve how the trajectory will look like. So the solution to this equation, it so happens that it turns out to be a conic section. So what we need to do here, just insert this, replace this theta dot from this place into equation 1. The theta dot to be inserted. And that yields so these two equations are combined into one equation. And equation C is a non-linear second order differential equation, and this has to be solved. So we have this equation here, r double dot minus h square by r cube equal to minus mu by r square, which we have found as equation number 3. Solve to get the trajectory of central force motion here in this case under gravitation. And as it is a nonlinear equation, so we can simplify it, we can put it in a format where it's solvable easily. And for that, we need to insert r equal to 1 by u. Insert in equation C. So this will get reduced to dr by dt. Again, we need to write it in a proper format so that what we are trying to do here, we are trying to eliminate this t. So the effort is here, eliminate t, and express in terms of theta. So that we get the conic section equation in terms of theta. dr by dt can be written as dr by du because r is a function of t, and therefore q will also be a function of t. And r is a function of theta, therefore u will also be a function of theta. So we can write it here in this way, and dr by du from this place, this quantity will be minus 1 by u square and du by d theta, and this is nothing but theta dot, which is h by r square. So simply we write here equal to h r square is 1 by r square will be u square. So this quantity theta dot is h u square. So h u square. So this gets reduced to minus h times du by dt. We differentiate it once more to get r double dot and apply the same sequence of derivation here, taking the derivatives. d theta by dt from this place, this is h u square. Okay, and therefore our equation gets reduced to r double dot minus this gets reduced to r double dot. From here we are picking up, so this is minus h square u square d square u by d theta square and minus h square 1 by r cube will be u cube. Okay, and on the right hand side we will have minus mu by r square, so this becomes minus mu r square is 1 by u square. Minus sign can be eliminated, and this can be written as d square q by d theta square plus h square gets cancelled, plus q is equal to plus here mu by h square, u cancels out. This is our equation number 4. So the left hand side, it appears in the harmonic form, and the right hand side is a forcing function. So there, in this case, this is having a constant. And then the general solution of this linear second order differential equation can be applied to this. So earlier it was in a non-linear form. Equation 3 is a non-linear second order differential equation, while equation 4 is a linear second order differential equation. And now this can be solved easily. Mu by h square. We are writing everybody connected?
Yes, sir.
So here we have d square q by d theta square plus q, which is equal to, and this needs to be solved. So you will have a particular integral and plus the complementary function. Complementary function, it's a mu by h square, and particular integral is c1 cos theta minus theta, because this is a harmonic function, the left hand side. And you can see that the complementary function, it satisfies this equation. If you put it here on the left hand side, so it becomes equal to the right hand side. And this we need to rearrange. So u equal to 1 by r c1 cos theta minus beta 0 mu by h square by mu. This quantity we write as L, which is the what we call as the semi-lattice vector. So the ellipse part still we have not discussed. The conic section I will revise it. So if this is the focus, this length from here to here, this is written as L. And a line which is lying here, which we write as directrix. We will do this at next time. As and when this mathematics is required, I will be covering it. So distance of any point on this trajectory, the conic section from the focus to this distance, it's always a constant. This distance divided by this distance is always a constant. This is the property of a conic section. Okay, so anyway, this solution, we will come to this in the next class. Here we have got the solution in this format. By L, and we want to express it in this format, which is the standard equation of conic section. So we just need to rearrange it. This quantity we write as E. Where E, this is called eccentricity of the orbit. So we'll look into all these details later on. What this is, actually eccentricity is a vector which lies along the periapsis. This point, this is called periapsis, which is nearest to the focus. And eccentricity is a vector which lies along the periapsis, drawn from the focus. Okay, so if we look here in this equation, this is theta minus beta 0. So this theta is measured from some The reference point here in this case, this may be the reference point. So this angle is theta. This angle is your theta angle. Minus beta 0. So beta 0 can be defined here in this case. This is your beta 0. So effectively, this angle, the angle being represented here, this is your phi angle. So let us write this as L by 1 plus P cos phi. So it's a standard to use instead of phi, it's a standard to use theta itself. So what we will do that instead of writing here 1 r equal to L by 1 plus P cos phi, I use P cos theta. And here we assume that theta is the quantity which is earlier has been written, this is equivalent to theta minus beta. So this is being replaced by this. It's a variable change, just a variable change for the consistency of the notation. Otherwise, we should have used, instead of this theta as the angle measurement, we should have used their phi. So thereafter, if phi was there, so in this case, if we would have, if we were having phi, so we could have changed it to then theta, so L by 1 plus P cos. So whenever I use, I will assume that R can be written as L by 1 plus P cos theta, which is equivalent to phi. This and this theta, phi and theta, they are the same thing. Okay, only because of the notational change, this problem is occurring. So I wind up here in this place, and this theta is called, if we measure the angle, let me go to the next page. This angle, if I indicate this as theta, so this theta is called the true anomaly. And then I will have to refer this as the arbitrary reference. From where it's being measured, and this becomes your beta g. So therefore, let us write it again. This is theta, so this becomes theta minus beta 0. So this we are not doing like this. Rather than saying, let us replace this theta by theta prime. Okay, in our earlier derivation. Theta prime square plus u equal to h by mu by h square. So if we write here in terms of theta prime, then also it becomes easy to indicate here. So this becomes theta prime, and then we can represent this angle as theta angle. So here then you have to need to represent in terms of theta prime minus theta g. So what is the significance of all these things? It will come in the next lecture. So we close here. Please respond to your attendance. If you have any question, you can ask me.